So, good morning everyone. This is Mariana from Dahua Technical of the Philippines. So, we're going to discuss our uh, Dahua toolbox, especially our project design tool. So, you can download this software here in our website in our Dahua Wiki and Dahua toolbox. So, here's the features of our toolbox application. We have our access control. We have our alarm configuration, batch mode, camera calculator, a configuration tool for IP cameras and NVR, a conversion tool for the video recordings, this calculator and this manager, product selector, remote playback tools, and smart player for playback, smart PSS for viewing of multiple devices as fisheye, and multiple IP cameras and network video recorders, and also a BDV config for our video phones. So here is the link of the download of the Dahua toolbox, and let's click it here. So as you can see, here is the instruction for the installation and also the download link of our Dahua toolbox. Okay, since after installation, we now can enjoy and open our Dahua toolbox. Okay, so after installation, you may install the options or the additional tools, but for now we're going to focus with our project design tool. So let's open our project design tool. So here are the basics parts of our project design tool before we start. First is the new button, so we can create new projects. Next is open, so we can open existing projects or previous designs, and save if we want to save the project we're doing as of now, and save as if we want to make another copy or other name for the project, and help is for basic troubleshooting or how to use the application for the project design tool. This is a PDF file that will be linked to your project design tool. So next is setting. So this is very important before we start the project. Is we need to switch to a specific measurement or specific type of measurement. But for here in the Philippines, we use metrics such as meters and kilometers. But for the European, they use imperial, like feet, yard. So for now, we're going to use metrics. So it is important that you have the JPEG or PNG, or so that we can import this in our software. So we have here our import engineering map. This is in picture format, not in AutoCAD or other 3D assisted software. Next is our set scale, so we're going to discuss it later. Next is add cameras. Next is our add object for human and vehicle. Next is ruler for measuring the distance from point to point. And next is our display line. The display line is our the range and the scope of the camera. Next is the display area. This is the range or the DORI distance covered by the camera. And we have here our 90 degrees and 90 degrees flip of the camera, and we have also the zoom in and zoom out of the project. So first we are going to do is we're going to start the project by importing the engineering plan. So I have here a sample that I have searched in Google, basic house design with metric scale. Okay, After importing an image or engineering plan, you'll be notified with this prompt. So it will ask you to please set rulers. So you're going to press OK. So based on the drawing, we have here our design, the floor design or the floor plan of this house. But for now, we're going to use the given measurements to measure the ruler of the software. So this one, example this one, 2 meters, it said 2 meters. So we're going to just measure it exactly where the 2 meters starts and ends. And we're going to drag the mouse and release it. So after releasing, you'll be prompted with the set scale. So the actual length of the drawn line. So based on the scale, it is 2 meters. 2 meters. Okay. So in verifying that measurement, we now have a scale of the plan. But we can verify that using a ruler. This one, the top, the distance measurement. So we need to verify if it is really approximately 2 meters. So we're going to drag again, and it's yes 2 meters. So we have the correct measurement of our project. So next we're going to do is add cameras. So we have here our floor plan. So we're going to select a certain location that we're going to target first, so that we can have a reference of our project. So let's start with the garage. So in the upper left, we will add camera. So we have here multiple product lineups for IP cameras, PTZs, our HDCBI, thermal cameras, and custom cameras for project-based cameras. But for now, we're going to start with our IP cameras. So we will not focus as of now with the models. Our focus for today will be more on the lens or the focal length of the lens we're going to use. So the basic lens common in the market is 2.8 and 3.6. For now, we're going to use 2.8 lens. Okay, so let's select here cameras that would offer 2.8 or 3.6. Example, this one, DDH, IPC, HDW8341XP 3DS2. That's 3 megapixels and it offers 2.8 or 3.6 millimeter. So this one is not varifocal. It only has two options, 2.8 or 3.6. So let's get this one as a reference. So double click. So this is the camera we have selected, the 2.8 or 3.6 millimeter lens. But here we could adjust it and select if is it 2.8 or 3.6 millimeters. So the basic logic of the selecting the length of the focal length of the camera should be this way. So if we're going to start with 2.8, it is a wider view, field of view, while if it increase like 3.6 up to 6 millimeter to 12 millimeter, the view gets the field of view gets smaller, but the range increases as the millimeter of the camera increases. So like this one. Let's discuss the focal length. So this one, camera lens and focal length and angle view. So the longer the focal length, the smaller the angle of view, the bigger the distant object. So for example, this one, if we're going to use 2.8 millimeter, the view will be wider, but the detail is not that focused. But we're going to use higher focal length, such as 6 millimeter. We can see smaller field of view, but we can see clearly the details of that object. But again, since it's a smaller view but higher range, so the view will be limited to a specific direction or specific part of the object, not the view of the whole object. Okay, so next is, after installing the camera that you have selected a certain location on our project, so you need to turn on these two. First is this display line for the range of the cameras. So we have here the maximum range of this camera is up to basically 50 meters. And so as you can see, we have layers of measurements, but this can be shown here in this button for the DORI distance. So we have here three, 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. This is the DORI distance. D is for the lighter one, the outer range is for the detect. The third layer will be, the second layer will be observe. Third layer will be recognize, and the fourth layer will be identify. So let's first discuss what is the DORI distance. So what is the meaning of these 4 layers? So we're going to discuss here the 4 layers of the cameras. So camera DORI distance, the detect, observe, recognize, and identify. So not all cameras has same performance because they have different lens and different focal length in terms of millimeters. So we have here our detect. So at 81, the example here is 81 meters. So at 81 meters, it can see movements, but it can clearly identify the target. Next is observe. As you can see, the image is closer, and we can clearly we can see the color of the stand and the color of the clothing and the shape of the human target. Next is recognize. So as you can see in recognize, I can clearly see the more detailed and more the more clear image. But the fourth layer is the identify. This is very important if we were to target human details, because identify basically defines us. We can identify the face, the facial features, male or female. So identification is important for entrances, but for the recognize is good for observing vehicles. Observe and detect is more likely on the overview of the whole scenario. So let's go back. So since DORI distance varies and clarity based on the distance on installation. So here we have first is our eye, the identify. So within this range, this one, the 1.87, within this range, it can clearly see the facial features of an individual or vehicle. But for the second layer, it can also identify people, but it is very more effective on identifying plate numbers. The third layer, you can see the movements. The fourth layer also is not recommended for identifying or getting a plate number, since it's very far already. It's more on can observe movements. Okay, so it is very important to select the proper camera focal length for installation. So what if we will adjust it into a 3.6 millimeter camera? So take note, we start here with 1.87 for the identification range. So let's try if we're going to use another lens such as 3.6. So as you can see, there's an improvement on the range, but now it's already 2.45 meters range for identification. So everything is increased, but as you can see, the wideness of the camera's view is lessened. The example is one. Okay, So as you can see, it's wider here, but this one is now we convert to 3.6. We have smaller uh, wideness of the camera. So okay, so let's go back again to 2.8, since this is only a small project and small land area, so we're going to focus on 2.8 millimeter camera. But for the cameras, you can always check our website here in Dahua. Example, this model, you can see the DORI distance here in the middle part of the product specification. This is the DORI distance. So 3.6, 6 millimeter. So it is important to highlight or recognize and identify specifications, so you can view it back later. So let's proceed to our project design tool. So now we have selected another camera for the garage. So we're going to add more. So it's so simple to add the camera. So it's only copy and paste, Control C and Control V in your keyboard, and you have another duplicate of that camera. So let's make an example here and proceed with designing our project. This one. Okay, let's try to add another one. Our third camera. Okay. Next is fourth camera. Okay. Fifth camera. Example, let's just assume the client wants to install 8 cameras. So we already have 5. Let's try to install the living room. So we have 6. Okay, let's stop at 6. Maybe this is too much. So after installing the positioning our camera, so we can also check it here in our software. Here the button for human and vehicle. Example, let's add a vehicle in the garage. So after checking the vehicle, you place it on the garage and click the camera facing it. So as you see, that is the range the camera can still see a vehicle. So this one is already 9 meters, but for the third layer, it still can be seen, but I suggest that we focus on the second layer if we want to have clearer plate numbers. So we can add human. Okay, what if somebody is standing near the camera? This is the estimated view of the object. So we have here the front view, the side views, and the top view. So usually I use the side view more often. So now we have installed the camera's positioning. You can also measure the cabling of the project. Example, you can use this ruler. For example, we are going to install the recorder here at the bedroom. So we're just dragging this one. You can measure the cabling. Example, this one is 5.5 meters. The other one is 7 meters. The other one is 9 meters. So you can basically take note of this in designing your cabling. But this is a very helpful tool so that we can easily build the materials for cabling. Like this one is 5 meters plus 5 meters, so that's 10 meters approximately. So now we have the cabling, the cameras, positioning. Now, how are we going to export this one and have it presentable to our client? So we can just the option of turning off this measurements. So that's it. So next is, there are 2 types of importing it. I usually do this in I usually pick the one with the range and without the range, so the client, we could understand the layout we are planning for them. So first we're going to click the export button here. this one, export. So example is the project name is project design tool, house plan. The blueprint name is CCTV plan. Designer is Mariano and Mariano. And the remarks, if there is special instructions, you could also include your watermarks to avoid the reusing if you plan. So we're going to use the Dahua logo or your custom logo. For now, we're going to use the Dahua logo. So you have two options. Either export is this one as JPEG or a picture. So let's try this one. Let's try my desktop. Test project. Save. Okay. So we'll be directed to our project. So this will be the output. So you can present this to your client as an image, or you can also use you can turn on the range view and again export it and do the same process, export as JPEG. This one is in the desktop, test project with range. So okay, let's try it and open. So you can see here, if the client will ask how long or what is the coverage of our camera, we can always present this in this manner. So next is we can also export it as a PDF. So house plan, desktop, and save. Okay, so let's see. So the good thing about this one, it has a front cover page that includes the project name and the blueprint name, the designer, the date, and the remarks. So this is the deployment map of the project, and also the camera list to be used in the project. But usually I do not provide this camera list because there's a chance of modification, but the camera list here can be modified also. What is important here is the front page and the deployment map. Okay, now we are all set and we are done with our topic for today. So again guys, you can have the time in playing around with the software. So you have the best thing about the software, it is very much free to use, no payments, no other hidden charges, so you can enjoy our software. Again, thank you for visiting my channel, and for every project needs, Dahua technology can offer you all models that will suit for industrial, residential, and commercial use. So thank you so much for joining. This is your tech from Mindanao. This is Mariano, and thank you and God bless for joining our training for today. So see you next time, and please comment down below what topics you want to discuss and what more questions I have for this presentation. Okay, thank you so much.